Usual for this class, right? So welcome everyone. This is our second in our Distinguished Alumni GamePipe Laboratory Seminar Series. And our number 2 speaker today is Anshul Dewan. Anshul graduated May 2009? 2010. Okay, not so long ago. And from the first second I met Anshul, I said, this is a superstar. How do we get this guy? And I remember him saying, I want to go to a startup, I want to do great things as a startup, or I want to go to a company that's already running as a startup so that I can learn how to create a startup. And he's been doing what, Zynga Poker?
I started on Zynga Poker.
Started on Zynga Poker, you're now Zynga Analytics? And he's a rock star, so I'll let Anshul go.
All right, welcome everyone. First I want to know what's the background for everyone so that I know what I should talk about.
Masters in computer science specializing in games.
Everybody's MS computer science games, except you. All right, so as Mike said, I graduated from this program 5 years ago now. Very rewarding program. I think this is the learning that you're going to get from this program are just phenomenal. I mean, I use it all the time. The concepts and the way you can do your own thing, team building exercises. How I used to lead a game project here in Advanced Games. 5 years ago, I think I was presenting my Advanced Game project, Garden of Life. We used to have like posters of games. I don't know why we don't have posters.
We're buying frames for them all. We will soon have posters.
All right. Make sure Mike gives you those posters. It was absolutely amazing feeling to have your game posters in the lab. We used to have that in RTH, where I was. I actually parked at RTH thinking that's where the GamePipe lab is. But now we're here. It's very close to my house. I used to actually live in GamePipe lab when I was here. I used to stay here, live here, spend some time here. Something's going on. I used to, so Mike was supposed to charge me rent because I used to sleep here. I used to have a blanket that I used to take. I think somebody took that off. I don't know what happened to that. But I lived on Portland, so now if it's really close. We used to be in Road. So I graduated from May 2010 and moved to Zynga Poker. I joined as a software engineer. First week on my job, they liked me because of my experience at USC. Not because of the courses I took, but because of the knowledge I had about games and making games. Absolutely everyone that applies to any company from USC, from Masters, has done 571, is that Web Technologies. So that has no value in your resume. Like, everyone knows that. Every resume from USC looks exactly the same. 571, Algos, 570, all those courses. Those are very important courses, obviously. I don't think those have changed. Those are very good for fundamentals. But they don't make you your resume or your profile look very different. So make sure this is the program if you're in or you're taking classes in this program. Make sure you put that on your resume because that makes your resume very unique and that is what people are looking for, especially people at Zynga. And that's what got me into Zynga. So all your CS requirements that you have to do, there's no point putting that into your resume. It's good to know those things and do well in those courses, but those don't have value because then your resume doesn't look very different. So that's some secrets of how to get into Zynga right now. So I joined Zynga Poker as software engineer. I had no idea how these games work at that scale. Zynga Poker was Zynga's first game, Facebook's first game on their platform. So it was on multiple platforms. It was a very complicated code base and it was a complicated game. First week into my job, I was told to clean, like usual new person job, clean some code, to learn about the code. I pushed the code for the first time in Zynga to 10 million users, and the game went down. And I think that was the best experience I had. I took the game down, first version up. Next 6 months to a year, I was so scared. I was code reviewing everything. I was very careful. So it was a good experience on how suddenly they put you on this big game and now you're breaking the game. I didn't break the game after that, so that's a good thing. But people who I started working with, I work with them still at Zynga. So yeah, it was a good experience at Zynga Poker. I spent 3 years as a software engineer, and then I wanted to move to product management. I was trying really hard, tried for a year, and then finally got through becoming a product manager on one of our new games called Hit It Rich. I don't expect any one of you to have played that game. It's a slots game, so it's more catered towards a different demographic. When we took this game from launch to top 10 grossing on iPhone and iPad in like a year. So it was a lot of learning right on the job. Good thing is, I actually, as a software engineer, I did all the analytics for them, and then they had to make me a product manager. So if you have to become a product manager, make yourself. They have no choice, but they have to make you a product manager. So I knew so much about the infrastructure, about analytics, that they had to make me a product manager so that I could use whatever I've implemented in code. So that's how I became a product manager. I got actually rejected a couple of times. I could not become a product manager before that. Cool. So because Hit It Rich was successful, I did a lot of things using my engineering knowledge and product knowledge. I was able to create tools which actually were proved out to be really successful for the game. They were very analytical tools for product managers that game was using. I'll get into that in a second. But that kind of led me into knowing more about analytics, and then my interest in analytics and machine learning. So I moved from that game studio to a central analytics division under the CTO. Central analytics is analytics infrastructure of the team that handles analytics for all the games at Zynga. So all the millions of players and billions of events and terabytes of data that are stored, our team, central analytics team, handles that. So there are around close to 15 games at Zynga, around 15 million active players every day, even now. And then historically there have been many active players, close to 200 million, or even 300 million users overall at Zynga. So all that data is maintained by us. That's a lot of data. So I'm going to get into that. By the way, feel free to ask me questions, because I might say things that I would not have understood if I was sitting there 5 years ago. Seriously. There are a lot of times there were talks that I used to Sigma, I used to call amazing people to talk, and I would just sit there and admire, like, I didn't understand anything, that's amazing. If I say something, just ask me.
So you're saying that 300 million players go through Zynga, and I assume you're based in San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many other Zynga places are there in America for 300 million people?
300 million players.
300 million players.
How many offices do we have? We have one in San Diego. We had one in New York. We had fun in Chicago. Austin. And then we have one in Toronto. Then we have a Bangalore office. Then we have a big office in London, which I was going to talk about. All right. Let's get to some notes. So this is our flagship game, Zynga Poker. This is what the first Zynga game and first Facebook game. It's still going strong. We love it. Words with Friends. I hope you guys have played Words with Friends. All right. So that's what I was thinking. Probably I would find some Words with Friends. This is the slots game that I used to work on. It's called Hit It Rich. Visitor Falls, you see that. Which we branded Visitor Falls for that game. So that kind of got us a lot of users to click on it, which was like a user acquisition. Farmville, obviously, that's our really big brand. We released versions after the initial one, which was on the web, and we released the next version on mobile, and now we're planning to do more of sequential games for Farmville. And Mountain Goat Mountain. How many of you know about Mountain Goat Mountain? All right, one person. That's good. That's the best game, by the way. You should just download it. This is like absolutely the best game you've ever made. It doesn't make a lot of money, but it's absolutely the most fun game. That's the thing about games. Keeping fun and business together is obviously the hardest part. Creating fun experiences is easy, but creating fun experiences that pay is really hard. That's what we strive to do. But do download Mountain Goat Mountain. It's a great game. I'm going to show you some game demos for our new upcoming games. Because everyone thinks we only do Farmville. We're going to show you some of our new game trailers. This is Empires and Allies. We released this a few months ago.
XERA has taken control control of the entire world. Allied forces are joining together for a final assault. Now ready for combat.
Yes, download now. So that's the game that we released, I think, in May, and that's doing well. We're still trying to add new features. It's built by people who used to work on Command and Conquer, so it has a lot of elements, a lot of art which resembles that. And the gameplay, excuse me, is actually very engaging. There have some new mechanics and special superpowers that you can really enjoy playing, which is, you can't get that experience anywhere else. So you're still working on this game. The next one that we're releasing next year, this is from our studio in London. So before I actually show you the demo, this was an acquisition we had in. This is mostly because it's the engine that is used in, I think, Grand Theft Auto and that we bought. And now we're bringing that technology that works on Xboxes and PS4s on iPhones, because now with their Metal API and the graphic power that's on the iPhones and the iPads, it's possible to do that on those screens. It hasn't been done before. Yeah.
Which engine is it?
I think it's called Morphin. It has various elements and different parts that people have licensed. So I think the main one is called Morphin technology. So this game is built off that. This is coming next year. This is what you will see has never been done on a phone before.
Darkness hungered for our world. Its evil titans led armies without limit. Mortals alone could not win this war. We fled to the heavens, hoping that the legend was true. That in times of peril, new titans would rise. Heroes to help us rebuild and to lead our strongest against the dark. To help us rebuild and to lead our strongest against the dark. We must forge new alliances, but if the dawn is ever to come, the titans must rise once more.
So this is built off that technology in the engine that we got. And the last one, quick demo. We're not showing any gameplay here, it's just the graphical power of this engine. This is a follow-up of a game that's already there. This is called CSR. This is the second version. This is on an iPhone. Nothing new in the gameplay, but that's what we are going to launch next year. Cool. Alright, let's get into analytics, which I can speak to more. So, It's very important for us to record every game action. There's like every action that player takes, anything that he does in the game, we record everything. Why do we have to record every game data? The answer is there's a lot of questions that you can answer. Once you have a large game, which is played by millions of users across a number of countries, you really need to know what is your game doing? Is your game doing better than last week? Is it doing better than last year? Is it doing better than last month? How is it doing compared to the other games in the same genre? So to answer questions about the health of the game, it's really important to track this data, which is what at the surface of it, every probably game now does and should be doing. It also can answer questions which are more specific, which is players not coming back after a week. If you have to see, like you have to know that there's a drop in people who are coming back into the game. So to get those answers for executives or game designers or engineers who have to build new features, they need to get those answers on why that is happening. Why are players not spending money? Most important thing, if they were spending before and they've stopped spending, it could mean that there's a problem in the elder game. Your initial game, your first few levels are great, they're spending the way you think they would spend, but going for like level 20 or beyond, you see that there's a drop in spend. So knowing that is very important, which means there's some tuning problem in your elder game that you need to fix. Why are players not progressing through the game fast enough? Sometimes what happens is the game becomes too hard. It's built by people who play the game over and over again. They've spent 2 years building the game, and they realize that other people are not getting it. And when they did their play test, probably it was a closed section of users that they tested it on who knew the game inside out, and that's why they were going through really fast. But it can happen that players, average player, is not getting through your game as quickly as you would like them to be. Another example where players not using all the power-ups. If there's power-ups, you think everybody should be using it. What was that game? Joypack, Joyride, Jetpack Joyride. I think at some point there was a problem that many people weren't using one of the power-ups, so they kind of tweaked it, updated their game, and added it back in. So those are the kind of things you know from analytics. Also, when the game designer is designing new features, mostly what I'm talking about is social gaming and mobile gaming. Mobile gaming is very different than AAA gaming game development. The reason is that you can always keep updating. It's not about just buying the game once, spending $50 or $60 and just keeping it for a year or forever. There's possibilities to add new features to the game, and everybody updates their game all the time. So when you're designing new features, it's not that once you ship your game, you're done. You have to keep working on it and making it better and fixing things that are not working or adding new features that are required. So when a game designer has to design new features, one of the problems, why you need analytics, my best answer is, for people who ask me a lot is, when you get a lot of smart people in the company, everybody has good ideas. The problem with good ideas is you can't work on all of them. You have to choose the best ideas to work on. And for you to have that informed decision, data and analytics helps you decide that. It guides you in the right decision, in the right direction. You don't have to take that decision, but it gives you more shots at the goal because you have data to back your decision if you take a decision. Some of the things that game designers are helped with is how much energy should a new feature run. Now, obviously, you want to see before you're building new features and you're adding something like energy to your game, you obviously don't want to misalign everything that was happening before. You don't want to give too much energy out so that the other parts of the game are affected and people stop playing, and you don't want to give less, that the reward isn't good and people are not using that feature. By the way, every feature that is being worked on is worked on by probably average of 3 engineers for a month, which is a lot of cost. Each feature that we build is probably $250,000 because of the salaries you pay. So think of those decisions. You're making really big decisions, really important decisions, and they have to be backed by data. How long does it take? Actually, this is interesting. Same clan. Now, a lot of games have put similar people, similar kind of people.
Yeah, for that new feature, when you're going through your cost analysis, okay, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars to develop this new feature. What sort of data are you looking at in terms of justifying whether or not it's worth the cost? I mean, is it, okay, we see these type of players are actually spending money on other games that have those features, or what?
That's one of those things. That's one of the things that you see you do competitive intelligence. You see other games, they have the same feature, players love it. Then you also, we do a lot of surveys with players and you get their feedback. We listen to our players very loudly. And more often than not, they will tell you what they're looking for in the game or what your game is lacking. Then you also have a lot of times you're building games that you've already built before, a similar kind of game. So you know what a certain kind of feature has done before. So you kind of take some knowledge from there and say, yes, this is absolutely the same feature, absolutely the same genre of game. We can probably expect the same kind of lift in this feature. Putting players in the same clan. So a lot of new games actually have a concept of clans and groups and guilds where they want to put similar kind of people together. You don't want a person who's playing all day, just smashing keyboards day and night, with a person who plays very casually, who plays every weekend. So putting those two kind of players together would mean that they're not aligned and they're not benefiting each other. The person, they're going to get cursed in the game. Nobody likes that. People curse a lot in these cases. How long does an average player take to complete a level? This is very important to know. To kind of have a baseline when you're designing games when you level, for example, a match-3 game, a game like Candy Crush is 400 levels. We have a game called Harvest Swap on the similar lines. 400 levels, you really have to know what do you expect your average player to be doing? How many times do you want him to play this? Like how are an average player going through your entire game? Because if he's going too quickly, you need to push out 1,000 more levels, which is not always possible. You want to have a good balance of they're feeling challenged enough and they're not getting bored. So that balance of game design always has to be there. So this is how we measure it. And then the last one is this power-ups. To make a new feature successful, this is done by seeing other power-ups we have in the game and seeing this is the kind of effect they have when people use it. So kind of seeing where you want the player to go. Any questions?
Yes, Anshul, I was wondering if you could share with us to what level of granularity you do your A/B testing. Is it dividing up by regions, or are you actually A/B testing within the same region?
Great question. I have a slide right at the end, but I don't cover this. I'll cover this right now. Do you do A/B testing by region? We do sometimes if it is important, but when we do A/B testing, we are randomly dividing users anyways. So when we're doing a readout, you can always say, all right, when I'm looking at the results, I'm not going to look at everyone. I'm just going to look at people from, let's say, London or Australia. So even if you don't do it explicitly for a region, when you're reading the results, you can look at it just for that reason.
Okay. And actually, as a follow-up question, how do you keep the A/B testing as invisible as possible? I mean, players are smart. They're going to know if someone has a feature and another one doesn't.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't have a good answer to that. How do we do it? I mean, that's up to the game designer to kind of make sure it doesn't happen. I mean, it's the same answer like how does Facebook avoid letting us know? We're part of an experiment every day.
Yep.
We're part of a Google experiment every day. So how do you hide that? It's up to the game design kind of. You have to think. There's no one good answer. But yeah, it becomes a problem. Like sometimes, why do they get it? But then we sometimes go with the strategy of having very close group of users, just launching to them, but then it's not a good A/B test. But we do those kind of things sometimes, like closed group of users. Yeah.
Have you ever tried to do like different in-game stores for
I can't hear you.
Sorry. Have you ever tried to do like any different in-game stores for different users?
In-game store.
Like did A/B testing on different stores, different items, for example?
No, we don't actually do a lot of testing on that item as much, but mostly it's the new features on how like difficult tuning, medium tuning, and less tuning is generally what our experiments are on. What data should a game developer try? This is the most important question, and I get this a lot because we kind of work as a central team and we kind of advise game teams on what data they should be tracking. In an ideal world, everything. Just track everything. There's no reason why in today's date you should not be tracking everything. The technology is cheap enough, the data storage is cheap enough, that you should be doing it. But the challenge is actually breaking things down. So that's what I'll cover. So most important thing to track is behavior. Behavior meaning when are players playing? When are people logging into the game? Which devices are they logging in from? Which days of the week are they logging it in? Which country are they playing from? So these are very basic things that you have to track, so that you know where are games doing better, where are games doing worse. When I was on Zynga Poker, a very interesting thing happened. Whenever there was a soccer game, like a Champions League game, you would see players, we would always see a dip in our number of people playing our games. And as soon as there was halftime, it would come back again, and then it would go down again in the second half. Sometimes we did not know what was happening if you did not say, all right, I'm just going to look at European countries and see what is happening there. And then once you look at European countries, you see this trend. But when you look at all players, you see a very small drop, and then you can't realize sitting in San Francisco, why are people suddenly stop playing, or things like that. So knowing which country people are playing from is very important. Then there's gameplay. Gameplay meaning what levels are they playing, what characters are they playing, what characters they're leveling up, where are they spending their resources, and any gameplay stuff, which is, I think you probably get it, the whole gameplay, like basic gameplay, how are they playing in their game. Logging that is very important. The next part is bigger, which is economy. So economy is very tricky. So for casino games, there's just one economy, chips. Right? You have to track that. But then if you come to games like Clash of Clans and Empires and Allies, there are 4 resources and they're all dependent on each other. So it's very important that you track those each separately, obviously. But you have to make sure that you're giving extra care that everything adds up. If there's a problem in your tracking, you would never know how is your, because these are all dependent variables, right? You take one resource A is needed to generate resource B. Resource B is used to generate resource C. Now you have to see how these are being used, because you don't want your game to have more generation of resource B, because then it's going to break your core. To make sure your core loop is working, you have to make sure your economy is tight, and for that you have to track it. We run simulations on our economy, saying that if a player was playing our game and we make them play our entire game, and we see how our economies are going to scale for so many players. And when you come to a concept of sharing economies between players, it becomes even more important that anybody can give someone else some economy. So you have to make sure that all these grants and rewards that are happening in the game are tracked. Because if somebody could just hack your economy, just give everybody all the resource B and your game is done. So very important to track this. Performance. A lot of people ignore this, but trust me, you have to track your performance of your game. Performance meaning how long is it taking for people to load this game. It seems very obvious that when you test it in best internet connections and best devices, it works. But there's a lot of people out there not with the best internet connection, not with the best devices, and if you're not tracking this, seeing how your device people are playing this game, it can become a problem. So make sure you always track performance of your game. Questions?
Would these same factors be the ones that you would consider when you're doing something like retention KPIs, or is it just kind of a general kind of outline pay attention to all these data?
I mean, it's both. Sometimes if your retention is down in some geo, you should look at the performances, maybe the performance, but both. I mean, sometimes it's just looking at performance in general. You don't want the way to look at performance is that there are millions of players. You log how long it takes for them to record. The way to do this is dividing them into percentiles. Percentile meaning dividing them into bottom 0 to 10%, 10 to 20%, and then have 10 buckets of users. Rank them all based on their load times. And then your aim is your P90 should be at certain level. That 90% of your users are loading it at some point. In stats, you always have outliers. So don't try to optimize it for 100% users. Optimize it for like 80 to 90% of your users, which are your key users. So mostly business intelligence is what this is. We can group our analytics into two buckets. This is what Zynga has been known for, and which is what Zynga actually invented in gaming, was getting business intelligence in games. This exists, this answers the question of what is happening in the game today. This business intelligence has been there in e-commerce forever. Like Amazon has had this for like years. And all the Yahoos of the world have had business intelligence forever. What Zynga did was get business intelligence into games because we were able to track it because everybody was connected. So some of the metrics that we absolutely drive is DAU. DAU stands for daily active users, pretty basic metric, but seeing how many users are playing each day, knowing what is your active user count is absolutely essential. Sessions, number of sessions being played by users. Very basic stuff. They began a session, how many times are they playing and how big are the sessions. Some people, what we see, we call it the Starbucks test, right? Some people play during a line. They play a lot of sessions, but they play for a very short amount of time. They play 10 sessions a day, but they play only for a minute. But there are some users who play one session, but there's a huge ass session for 1 hour. So there are two ways to look at that sessions metrics, but it's important to see what your curves are for different sessions and see if they're going down or not. You have to make sure however your gameplay activity was, it's being maintained over time. Retention, very basic stuff. Absolutely the most important metric for your game is retention. People who install your game today, are they coming back tomorrow to play, and are they coming back a week after today to play? There's no more, this is the most important metric in your game. You have to see that players are coming back to play. And the way to measure it is first they come after the first day of install, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, and then we measure it up to 1 year. We measure it up to all the days, but we kind of report and look at it in these terms. Questions? Yeah.
Is that rolling retention, or is that daily retention? How do you calculate that?
It's both, but we mostly look at daily retention. Rolling actually doesn't. They look better.
Yeah.
It looks better than it is, so we look at it
So that means they come back every day for the past 7 days?
on that day.
On that day, on that specific 7 days. Yeah.
Not total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With regards to players doing sessions, if they're doing 10 one-minute sessions a day versus one hour-long session a day, which one has a higher correlation to monetization?
Interesting question. To be honest, both can be. Which one is more? Depends on the game. It depends on really the game that you're talking about. If it's there are some games that you cannot play if you're playing 10 times a day.
So it depends on the core loop.
Correct. It really depends on the game.
But at the end of the day, I guess really the answer to the question is, what is the prevalent habit of your whales?
Well, I don't want to say what the prevalent habit of my whales are, but I would say playing more in longer sessions is definitely what it is. If they're playing more, they've left everything, they've thrown their babies out the window, and that's what we want. So longer sessions, yes, obviously. We want them to keep not doing anything else. Pairs, obviously measuring how many pairs you have, how many pairs are coming back each day. It's very important not just to look at DAU. You must have 10 million DAU that are playing every day. But if pairs are a very small percentage of your game, you want to make sure that they are coming back. If they are not coming back every day and everyone else is coming back every day, it's not really helpful. So pairs, measuring pairs, how many pairs you have is very important. And there's a concept called new buyer conversion. This is a ratio of number of new players that have never played in the game before, just paid for the first time, divided by all the players you have. Obviously, this is a very small percentage of numbers, but what you have to see is your week over week, month over month, year over year is not going down. That is the rate you want to maintain. You are converting non-pairs into pairs at a constant rate, or a better rate. Repeat buyer conversion is people who have paid in the game, and are paying again in the game. You don't want people to stop paying in your game. If they're paid in the game, you have to make sure your repeat bar conversion is maintained, which means people who have bought paid money they keep paying money. ARPDAU, what does it stand for? Use it all the time. Average revenue per daily active users. Yeah. ARPDAU is basically total revenue divided by all your users. Very basic methodology. You have to measure that. And ARPU is average revenue per paying user. So not dividing it by all users, but dividing by people who actually pay. So generally, all games have in their genre know what their ARPU needs to be. For example, like a game like Candy Crush or Mastery games have a very low ARPU. It's known, but you have to maintain that ARPU. Churn is known as percentage of users leaving your game every day. This is very important to measure. But absolutely, you'll never be in a place where there's zero churn. People will leave your game. What you have to make sure is that percentage is not increasing. So all this that I told you, it basically kind of creates a flow, which is you acquire users, which are your installs, and you count your installs. You pay for these users, or they come organically, or through word of mouth. Then you activate them users. Sometimes people just install a game because they see a celebrity on a game and they download, but they never end up playing. When they start playing and they come back next day, they become a DAU. So you'll be surprised how big the drop is sometimes. Where engagement is again the sessions that they're playing, but they're playing and they have long enough sessions. And then retention, making sure that they're not going away, or large percentage of users are not leaving the game. And then revenue, obviously, calculating their revenue metrics. Any questions? Yeah.
So most of the Zynga games I know are based on the freemium model. So I've been a Zynga poker player for 5 years now.
Have you paid?
Yes.
That's awesome. Go ahead.
But only once, and I didn't really feel like paying again. But this is the point I'm trying to make, which is, so I'm one of the people you might call freeloaders, for lack of a better word. But could you maybe give us an example of something you guys are doing to convert these freeloaders into paid users?
Well, specifically poker, we make sure, poker is one game that we don't have to do anything special. It's a proven mechanic, it's not a game we invented. For getting people to play a game, we match them into good tables and we make sure that they're playing with people where they're getting challenged and they're winning and losing. So by matchmaking, we get them on the right tables. We assume if the gameplay is good, they will be playing. Poker is a very specific example because it's not a game you can change. You can't start giving you cards which are special. We don't mess with that card. It works the way it has to work. So,
But poker,
we do sometimes give you when we notice times when you're most likely to buy. For example, you've lost your chip stack. We know it's probably to keep playing and you don't want to come back next day to get free coins. It is a good chance that you'll pay right now as well. So that is something that we to give you an offer or show you that hey, you can buy, you just lost all your chip stack.
but even the free chips that you guys give seem to be enough for me to keep coming back. I mean, waiting for a day, coming back next day, and maybe starting off with say 80,000 chips or something.
We're giving you a lot of coins.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the team.
Maybe give them your name so you can pull some of those back.
That's the problem. We're gonna stop that. I mean, they experiment. I mean, they know what are the right coins to give. I mean, if you feel there are enough chips, which means you either are a good player or you just don't like to play that much, right? It has to be one of them. If you really like to play and you're not a good player and you lose all the chips every day and you're ready to wait another day for those free coins, you're like that kind of player. It's not consumer behaviors. And that's why we have a huge population of user base that never pays.
So would you also be interested in measuring, say, player skill level? so that you could give, I don't know, more coins to someone who's not doing so well.
Absolutely not. But we do measure player skill by actually how it's done in World Series of Poker, or seeing are you betting the right amount based on how much pot size there is, and all those things. We know your player skill, but we don't like try to mess with more coins or less coins. But we'll make sure, to match you with people who are your skill, so that you have that good experience playing. This is what a funnel looks like. So let's say you have a new game and you have a FTUE meaning first time user experience. You designed it, and there are a number of flows, steps in your first time user experience. You want to make sure that your drop off from each step. So let's say these are 5 steps to complete something in your game. So this is generally called a funnel analysis, showing how, first these are the percentage of like total number of people who completed step 1. 8 point some % drop for step 2, and then there's a drop. So at the end, you're losing almost 40% users from step 1 to last step. So you want to obviously have nobody drop off. But this is generally called a funnel analysis for anything that you have different steps and you want to complete in your game. These could be levels in your game. There are 5 levels in your game, and you're seeing there's a 40% drop off from people who started playing to the people who are completing levels. Any thing that has kind of steps in use this kind of methodology. So we answered the business intelligence, what is happening today. This is what Zynga has done. Zynga invented, everybody's doing it, and we've done it, and like we've established this. What is new is predictive modeling. This is the concept of predicting future. Everybody's trying to predict future, right? So we also try to predict future. It's very useful to our business. Obviously, you see a lot of Googles and Facebooks and Microsofts of the world are trying to predict and have cars that drive through machine learning and artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of use cases that we have where we predict what is going to happen in the future. Examples of that we absolutely try to predict is lifetime value. Predicting lifetime value of a player is very important for us, so that we know how useful are these players that, like our top players who are paying, or even the smallest player or smallest person who's not even paying, how useful is this person in the game? What is the value in the lifetime that he brings into the game? We do a lot of modeling based on curves, on what we're seeing based on their behavior, on how much money will they bring to the game, or how much value they're going to bring to the game. Value could be in direct dollars, or value could be indirect in getting more people into the game because of your viral active. So you're playing, but you're getting 5 people into the game, so you have some lifetime value. Predicting players that will choose. So this is a very basic concept of machine learning, that you can take few people who actually leave the game and take few people who have not left the game and put all the things that they've done, all their stats and features and all their analytics, put it into a machine learning model, and it'll predict for everyone else who's going to predict or not. This is absolutely very basic. A lot of people do this, and you can easily predict based on their playing patterns that they're going to stop playing this game. Like for example, we always see that a person who's not playing more than 3 days a week will probably not come back next week. So those are some things, and you can keep getting better because you can it's more effective to more accurately predict as soon as somebody's activity drops that this person is going to leave the game. So do something, or there's something wrong with why this person is leaving. Players that will pay. This is very important, predicting who will pay. Again, people who pay show very different behavior than everyone else. And kind of picking that up as early as possible is very important. Reason being, this is what our curves look like. So let me explain this properly. Complicated. So let's say we had 100 pairs in our game, and everybody paid $1. So their line would look like this red or pink. So this graph is ranked by percentile. We do a lot of percentiles. So this is all players, and this is just 2% of pairs. So if everybody paid equal amount of money, the line would look like this. If you stack rank the amount of revenue they bring into the game. Okay. Now this is what this looks like when everyone pays the same amount of money. But then a lot of the games that we have look like this. This is a common phenomenon seen in all the social games. This is what this looks like. What this means is, so if you see 90, so your 10% users are getting more than 60% revenue. So very few people are the ones who pay a lot of money to the game that are responsible for all your revenue. This looks like US economy, right? Very few people do all the stuff that have all the money. So this is a known fact that happens in all games. So that's why it's important to predict who's going to pay. Shell life of a game is very important again, which is modeling how long is this game going to last. Based on these are the number of people that are leaving the game. These are new people that come into the game every day. These are the new people that other players that are playing are bringing into the game. How long is this game going to last? So predicting and having how long is this game going to be addictive is important so that we know, all right, this game is going to die very soon. Let's start doing something else or making it better. This is what I was talking about, predicting players that will enjoy playing each other. To your point, the skill level is one of the things that people like. They want to play with similar skill level. So predicting that kind of behavior on which are the kind of players that like to play with each other. Questions? Yeah.
How do you know exactly when a player churns or if they just stop playing? Do you know if they actually delete the app?
Those are two questions. How do you know they're still playing is they don't come back.
They don't come back. I mean, how do you know
They don't come back, so we know they're still playing.
they just stop playing after a day or after a week, or what if they come back in a month?
So yeah, so what is our definition for a person to stop
Exactly.
playing? I mean, we know if the next day they stop playing. If you say if they don't play for a day, we know they're not playing. But the definition of they stop playing depends on the game and the data scientist or the person, really the game. I mean, generally we say if he's not played for a month, he's not coming back. Then some people go on vacation. So you have to choose some number. So for us, it's probably if he's not played for a month.
So let's say you have a brand new game that's totally unlike poker, where there are no pre-made models of how to predict the player skill. How do you build a model that ranks a player's skill?
We don't predict the players. We calculate it.
Yeah.
But then we predict who should we pair against each other.
How do you rank it if it's a new game with new game mechanics?
It's up to the game designers. We are more about like is your skill level. This is how you should calculate it. You know your game. You tell me what your skill level is, and then we kind of say match these people together. So it's really up to the game designer.
Do you do any research as to which players find the game fun? And if yes, how often is that correlated with people that actually pay for the game? Because I know there are a lot of games where people play either because their friends play or because they've already played something like this forever or something like that.
So there are a few questions. How do you know if the game is fun? If the game is growing, if the game is making money, if people are coming back and sending us good 5-star reviews, that means they like it. A number of ways to see that. How do we know that they're playing or they're just playing? I mean, there's very philosophical question. I mean, one of the things is to look at their return rates. Are they coming back month after month to keep playing in our game? That is very important to see that they really like the game. Other things are their reviews. We do a lot of customer feedback. We hear from them, and generally these people are very vocal. So they'll tell you on your Facebook page, game sucks. Don't like it. And if it's awesome, they're like, we love your game, but can you add this to the game? So we know it like that. We get fan mail. People get married. They meet each other on our games and get married. So we know, all right, we're doing something good. A lot of people have gotten married after meeting involved with friends. So that's a good sign.
So specifically the reason why I asked this question is because you presented 5 different games, and you said by far the funniest game is the last one, which also has makes the least money. and has the lowest user base. Like that seems counterintuitive. Because I would think the player wanted to like, hey.
No, don't get me wrong. Other players are fun. This is just came out, and I just love it. It's right on my phone. I can play it offline. I don't need anything else. It's like I can just play it anytime. I don't have to think a lot. That's why it's my favorite.
I misunderstood.
I love Zynga Poker. I mean, I actually learned Zynga Poker in Gamepipe Lab, and then I got started working on it. So I love Zynga Poker too, but it requires more skill. I'm basically I don't have time to play that. Yeah.
Do you weigh, on Zynga Poker, do you weigh the people that play with their friends or actively through social networks, Facebook, whatever, actively go after inviting their friends differently than you weigh people who just take random matches? Do you analyze it differently?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, those are definitely special players. I mean,
Do they have a higher, in your value system, do those players have a higher value?
Absolutely. They're more social, they're meeting more people, they're here for a different experience. It's easy to keep them. There's a different way to engage them, which means make sure that they have their friends, make sure their friends are not keeping the game.
So historically, there's typically two ways to convert players into payers. One is to either create some kind of incentive. Usually, this is great for collectors, or for something that is not a requirement, but is sort of like some perceived added value. Okay, so that's sort of like a carrot. And then the other way to convert a player into a pair is to create a pain point. Candy Crush does this exceptionally well by saying, oh, if you want to progress to this paywall, you've got to pony up or get more friends to start playing. Based on analytics, is it historically better to create incentives or pain points?
So it depends on what part of the game you're talking about. So both are valuable in different part of the game and for different kind of players. If you talk about paywalls, paywalls are generally put in games right at the probably last 1/4 of the game, or probably in the second half of the game, I would say. Nobody generally puts a paywall in the first half of the game. It's mostly saying that you've already played half of our game and you've not paid any money, so we're going to put a paywall. But a reward and incentive, I think that you can start doing that from level 1, because that is very kind of in the game, in the game core loop, and going to make your game experience better. So I would say it depends on what part of the game you're talking about.
Okay, no, that's valuable. It sounds as though a pain point is not effective early in the cycle of the game, because then you'll just create too much friction and your players will just bail out.
It's not, yeah, it's risky.
It's risky. Okay.
I mean, it's risky, and also you want to give your players more chance. And generally you don't want paywall in the game. An ideal game would not have paywall. I mean, I hate it. I don't like a game that has a paywall. Like, seriously, don't do that. That's my process. Any questions? Yeah.
For these models, do you guys design the features yourself, or do you have use neural networks, or do you have some sort of ensemble model that you use?
So features are game behavior. So whatever game they're playing, how many times are they playing, how quickly they are going through levels, how far are they from their goal when they're doing it, how many times a day do they play, how much money they've paid, how many friends they have, all the features, everything that we can have for the game. We have an infrastructure, machine learning infrastructure. We use Spark. Spark is a new machine learning open source infrastructure, the most contributed project in Apache. IBM is investing heavily in it. That's what we use. So once you have a technology like that, there's no limit to how many features you can put. We put hundreds of features for all players, and then see what machine learning. And then data scientists is free to choose whatever machine learning model choose from, because it's all distributed, and we have that infrastructure. So that's the new phase of our analytics where we're doing that. You're not restricted by what features you can put. You can do whatever you want. All right, so last slide. So this is not really predicting, but this is really didn't come out pretty well on full screen. So this is basically seeing cluster of your users. This is unsupervised, without any knowledge. This is just saying everything that you know about these players, just put them in a machine learning model, cluster them and see what kind of players you have. So these are, you can see, here, the percentage of your users. You can tag them as different social involvers, early enthusiasts, main guidance, losing momentum, borderline. It's not very nice. Semi-engaged. So different pairs, so you can then target and kind of see what is the retention for different kind of groups in your game. And this is not supervised, as I said. This is not based on trying to do something specifically. This is just to have a better understanding of your entire user base and seeing what percentage of users are in each bucket. But then you can do a lot once you know something about the players. Question? Seems that when I give more time for questions and somebody asks questions, there are more questions after that. Nobody wants to ask the first question.
What is virality potential?
Virality potential?
Yeah, the thing on the left. Like
What? How?
in a different way.
How likely is this person to get more users?
Other users.
His friend. That's his virality.
So what strategy do you use to promote the reform of the video game and the online?
See that?
I mean, what strategy do you use to reform their video game and put it online?
Initially, I mean, the first time you launch, it's really dependent on user acquisition, which is you pay and buy these users to kind of like in the advertisements that you buy Facebook ads to get initial set of users. Sometimes, for example, Farmville, we know have a lot of players that would like this game, and if we come up with a new Farmville game, we'll invite those users to it. So it really depends which one you talk about. If it's a brand new game, it's
That means someone like
yeah.
How many players do you need before these player profiles become meaningful?
So this term meaningful is very, it's not really answerable because this is unsupervised, right? This is meaningful. I mean, these are just names given by us. These are not really the actual names. Meaningful is really up to your, it's like that's the art part of this, that is not science, that's the art. When you think that's meaningful, so there's no answer, that's the art of doing it. What do you want to do with these clusters? Cool, so this is my favorite topic because I work on analytics and I built a new experimentation platform we've rolled out. We've removed the old experimentation platform and we have a new experimentation platform that I built with awesome engineers in Toronto. The reason is Zynga depends a lot on experimentation. There's no finding about the question what causes answer what causes and causality and correlation questions can only be answered by experimentation. You put out 4 things and see which one works best. So we do a lot of that. How it works is you come up with hypotheses. You just don't start in testing. You come up with your hypothesis that you think this is going to happen before you start the test. You don't want to test and then see numbers and like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. You have to have your first hypothesis ready. Then you put out a test, and then the test runs. How a general test is the users are split randomly. And there's no knowledge about which user goes into each variation. It's all random. It's important thing. Experiments have to be random. And then you measure the results and see which result makes most sense, and then you kind of improve that by sending all players into the new improved mode. And this is kind of the loop that we follow all the time. I don't have more slides. This is the last slide. But this is really the money slide. This is how all your social networks, all online platforms work. It's about experimentation and designing experiments correctly. It's very easy to design an incorrect experiment, run it, and see the results, and then push everybody to it. Examples that from the web, Google changes their algorithm, improves their algorithm all the time, but nothing gets pushed without an experiment. They see what the performance is. It's at this point, no company pushes out features without experimenting because nobody wants to be in the dark. have that chance to do that. So it's very important to kind of have a very good experiment design and a very good experimentation platform. All our analytics platform are in-house, by the way. We don't use anything external. But if you guys want to, and you should, definitely look at Segment. It's a good tool. It's, I think, free. It has a free tier. There are a lot of tools out there, Flurry and Expander, but I like Segment because once you use Segment, you can use any other tool. It's basically a middleware. So that's about it. Thank you.
Sure.
Sure. All right. Yeah.
Just to know your personal perspective as a former student of this game, do you have any suggestions for us about some topics that we should learn?
I don't think you should learn about topics. You should learn about games, like intrinsic thing, why games are so special. Games, I mean, this program is very unique. I mean, after I left it, I realized how important this, how good this was. The independent projects that you guys do try to do a very important part of it. And people want to generally know what was the hard problem that you solved. You'll always come up, you'll have problems. There's no project that you come up and you all had all planned and you thought the way you think it will work, and it never works like that. Knowing that problem, of why that problem was, and how did you solve it is what people want to know, because that's how real work works. Doing special projects is very important. Do take your fundamentals. I think I covered that. Web, I don't know, what was I don't know what the we have now. The 571s and 570s and 580. Computer graphics course is good. I think that's used to be optional, but I did it to use games. I don't know if it's used still have that option. That's a good course. A lot of learning from that course. But do advanced games, different projects, a mobile games class. I think you still have that, right? Building there's better, in my interview, I didn't let the person ask me it. I took my laptop and said, here's what things I've done. Here's the game that I've built. Here's another game I've built. And it was all about that. So instead of, even the interview doesn't know what to ask you. It's very hard to judge a person in 30 minutes. You should lead your own interview. You should say what you've done and show them. And that'll all be.
So the demo day and showcase is really important.
Yes. Having your game available to you, like on your phone or your computer, is very important. Always be ready to show what you've done. There's a lot of value to passion. There's a lot of value that you did this, or you did this part of the game, where that's path tracking, AI path tracking in the game, or graphics, or you did cell shader, or I know you guys are doing VR, and how many are VR. That's a good thing to show. But just doing VR is not enough. Doing something that could not have been done otherwise, but now is being done through VR is important. Just having that on the resume never counts.
So I see, instead of having foundations, we should have waiting solutions to problems that I have to solve.
Sure. I'm not saying you don't have fundamentals. Have those, but it's very hard to know from like everyone has that on their resume. And it's hard to test like the depth of algorithm knowledge or any other knowledge. Yeah.
So you kind of set me up there. I'm going to make a statement and then ask a question if that's all right with you. So I'm a co-founder of a sports technology startup. We've been around for about a year. And one of the problems we're trying to solve now in talking with our customers, their sports franchises, teams, leagues, is really motivating their staff. Often they have small staff, anywhere between 5 to 25 individuals who take on multiple roles within the organization. And so we're just at the beginning level of starting to sort of gamify management of staff. So leaderboard concepts, very simple. So my question for you is twofold. The first is, what are you seeing in gaming that's, gamification of X, which is like a real world issue? It's not necessarily a game that people are used to considering a game, but like gamification of real world problems to help address them. And I guess second, because I can wait and ask the second.
Yeah, sure, I can answer the first one. Gamification is outside of games. It's not a new concept, I think.
Right.
I don't work in that field, or I don't look at things in gamification to add games itself. But there is a lot of literature, and Mario Herger, I think is his name, would be like gaming, gamification enterprise group. You can follow how you can motivate your stuff. But I mean, if it's a sports, something to do with sports, they should be motivated. Other people do a lot of boring stuff.
Yeah, we're trying to spice it up a little bit. But the second question is, as we're doing our experimentation, sort of a very simple concept, how important is it for your hypothesis to be, I guess, simple? I mean, I'm trying to, there's a few different approaches we could take in creating this, quote unquote game, but we're not sure how complex we should make it when we're at the experimentation.
Make it simple. I mean, to actually answer that, I'd have to like sit down, show you, go in detail. But a short answer is
I'm happy
keep
to
it
buy
as
you a beer.
I'll take a beer. But I think the short answer is keep it as simple as possible, because if you're testing number of things together, you don't know whether once you have more than one thing you're testing, they're all dependent on each other. It kind of becomes tricky.
Yeah.
This result will actually hold, and there's a lot of literature outside games, just in like medicine, where actually this is used. That don't try to test too many things. Keep it simple. Test one thing, and test less variations is also important.
That's good. Okay. And if anybody needs a project, always looking for Troy. So.
Yeah.
So the loop you had on the last slide is fundamentally sort of a greedy improvement approach to making changes to the game. Has that led you guys astray where it looked from the testing that a change was going to be really good and turned out to be terrible?
I mean, yeah, definitely. There has been some chances. There has been some instances where that has happened. That results can say. So I wanted to have a slide which I forgot to put in. Science versus art. This is all science, but the games are a piece of art. Always remember there is something called enjoyment in the game. There's something called a fun element, and data should only be looked at as an additional weapon you have, and not as the only weapon you have. In terms of I don't remember any instances, but statistically, it's always possible results look better than they are. You went with it and it didn't do well. It's always possible. Another thing that I tell people is to go for bigger changes, smaller, like 2% improvements, 3% improvements. Like 10, 3% improvements will not add up. They don't add up, so go for big improvements when you're testing these things. And we generally do testing on, depend if it's an existing feature we're testing on, is it or a new feature we're testing on. So we make sure you're not having the same kind of logic when you're trying to interpret results.